Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right show, wrong time. That's kind of my takeaway from the messy reception this project enjoyed. Now, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely valid critiques to be made of this show. The weird blocking and set design is the first that springs to mind, or the pacing. But so much of the discourse around this show is vapid nonsense. And don't worry, we will get into the specifics of that shortly, but I just think that's a shame. If this show had come out back in 2013 to 14, it would have been a smash. People would have lost their shit. Seriously, the amount of lost shit on a worldwide scale would have single-handedly sent toilet paper stocks to the moon. But 2022's a different beast. People don't fondly reminisce over past Star Wars movies these days. We thank God that no one's forced us to watch The Rise of Skywalker recently. People are down on Star Wars, Disney Star Wars specifically. Add to this the current state of online reactionary culture and the hype mindset that certain studios have cultivated over the past few years, and, well, in retrospect, it seems foolish to think that the long-awaited return of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi could ever have fared better in today's day and age. O tempora, o mores, and all that. But this response wasn't inevitable. In a lot of ways, this show really works, and at the very least, it does not deserve the mudslinging it's endured. I honestly believe that if this exact show had been released in a cultural moment with less Star Wars negativity, it would have been received as a highlight of the Disney era. So let's talk about why. In this video, I'll go over the trajectory and reception of the show more generally, looking at the absolute smooth brain energy of the more dominant criticisms. And in a follow-up coming soon, we'll talk about the elephant in the room, the climate of racism surrounding these responses, and Reva's writing. The first point I want to make is that from a narrative perspective, this show was always kinda sat between a rock and a hard place. There really wasn't much room to maneuver between where we leave Kenobi in episode 3 and where we find him in episode 4. I think that's essential to bear in mind when considering the issues some have had with Kenobi's plot. There was a lot of chuntering and harumphing when it became clear after the first 2 episodes that the story would be focused on the Ben-Leia pairing. It was political correctness gone mad. The Force is female. Kathleen Kennedy. Except, let's step back and actually use our brains. We saw in Revenge of the Sith that Obi-Wan's mission was to protect Anakin's children. He goes to Tatooine to watch over Luke because, well, Leia's being adopted by an Imperial senator and Luke by some yokels in the middle of nowhere. On paper, they need that protection way more than the Organas. But he and Yoda don't just want to protect Luke. Why would they? They haven't seen Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. They don't know Luke's the one who'll end up toppling Palpatine and saving Anakin. No, Kenobi's responsibility, whether it's said explicitly or not, is to both of Anakin's kids, the future of the Force. That's his mission. That's the only reason he'd be able to leave his retirement behind, and accept the sort of call to adventure necessary for a Kenobi series to begin, to protect these kids. So either Luke or Leia had to be involved. And it couldn't have been Luke, because I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this film called A New Hope, and in it we learn that Luke only has a passing familiarity with old Ben Kenobi. Writing around this would have meant some sort of kidnap plot where the two never interact, and Luke never learns of Ben's involvement, and that wouldn't have made for satisfying television. That would have been immensely contrived. So yeah, this story is kind of how it had to happen. Any significant changes would have meant undermining either episode 3 or episode 4. And hey, I think that works. I think young Leia absolutely captures Carrie Fisher's original trilogy energy, and I like the idea that this experience gets Ben out of his crusty, negative retirement shell. I like the idea that that's maybe because this little Rugrat reminds him of a certain other little Rugrat. But hey, I'm not gonna dwell on what I personally like, because that's subjective. And if I did, the comments would be full of people saying, cool, you liked it, but I didn't, so what? No, it's more important to look at the narrow narrative opportunities afforded to this show by its place within the larger saga, and to make the point that those choices you don't like weren't poor decision-making. This isn't pandering, and it isn't woke feminism. No, it's something far scarier to the modern Star Wars fanbase. It's sensible writing. But this Leia choice doesn't just tie together episodes 3 and 4, it goes further than that. Ever since episode 7 came out, it had always been slightly unclear why Leia chose to name her kid after some dude she'd never met. Now, it isn't. This narrative determinism goes beyond Leia, however. Since the show brought Vader into the mix, Ben had to win their final fight. But given Ben's original trilogy conviction that Anakin is dead and gone, he needs to lose all faith in his former protege. But this generates thematic issues. Think about it. Ben's super zen when we rejoin him in Alec Guinness form, and he's so in tune with the Force that he's able to become a Force ghost, so his faith in the Force, in the Jedi way, the light side, needs to be affirmed at the end of any inter-trilogy project. That's not really possible if it also ends with a defeated Vader discarding the last of his humanity and embracing the dark side. So that couldn't have been the end, and it needed to be balanced out, flipped by a redemption. Dark to light, a mirrored twist on Anakin's downfall. Enter Reva. In any version of Kenobi's script which involves Vader, there needs to be a Reva-like character who survives and is redeemed. Otherwise, it doesn't work on a fundamental level. And sure, the broad strokes of this character may always have been required, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your more specific criticisms of this character's writing are invalid. In the abstract, that's correct, but we will talk more about this in the follow-up. Now, you might well say, hey, there is an alternative here. No Vader, but just imagine. Imagine the fan response if Disney came out and said their Kenobi project, Ewan McGregor's big return to the role, wouldn't feature his arch-enemy, wouldn't feature the now beloved Hayden Christensen. Be honest with yourselves. Would you have preferred this version? Maybe some of you would, individually, but you're kidding yourself if you think there wouldn't have been a massive backlash. But as ever, the show is smart with this inclusion, tying into episode 4. The moment Ben is convinced Anakin is truly dead is the moment he abandons his former protege's human name and begins calling him Darth, as he did back in 1977. This is recontextualized, not as some obscure remainder of those brief years in the 70s where Darth was supposed to be this guy's actual name, but as the deliberately impersonal, dehumanizing name Ben has chosen for his enemy, the enemy he now sees as more machine than man. For the next portion of this video, I want to think less about the reception Kenobi's enjoyed post-finale, and consider the discourse that surrounded the project as it aired. Because good lord was there a lot of single brain cell energy. Week on week, discussion threads and comment sections were being bombarded by viewers proclaiming that none of it made sense, that it all broke canon, that this or that was underwhelming. People complained that the Grand Inquisitor's shanking in episode 2 was impossible because he appeared in Rebels. And this showed how incompetent Disney was and how apathetic towards Star Wars the company had become. They complained that Qui-Gon hadn't shown up, that the series wasn't using Hayden Christensen enough, and that Reva couldn't possibly have known Vader's secret identity, because it wasn't common knowledge. They complained that the big Vader-Kenobi rematch in episode 3 wasn't as epic as it should have been. They complained about many more things besides, and without fail, all of these holes they found, all of these canon-breaking illogical mistakes, turned out to be addressed in later episodes. The upside of the Disney Plus staggered release model is that it keeps people talking about a show longer, but the downside, evidently, is that it breaks people's brains. Obviously, the Grand Inquisitor survived. Obviously, we got Qui-Gon, and more effective uses of Christensen's talent. Obviously, there was a reason Reva knew who Vader was, a reason which became incredibly important. Obviously, there was an epic Vader-Kenobi rematch. These things just hadn't happened yet. Kenobi hadn't given us the solutions to its mysteries immediately, because that's not how mysteries work, and that's not how stories work. Yet, that didn't stop the discourse from being hijacked by people who didn't understand this. People for whom a temporary lack of information was indistinguishable from bad writing and plot holes. Kenobi hadn't shot its big rematch wad all at once because it wanted to build tension, and to use this first abortive encounter to explore Ben's inadequacies at this point in the story. That disorienting cinematography, guess what? That was on purpose. It was to put you in Ben's state of mind. It didn't feel like a big prestigious rematch because to Ben it wasn't. It was terror. It was fleeing some seemingly unstoppable monster from your past, unable to fight back or think clearly. That scene was supposed to leave you feeling shortchanged. It very consciously wasn't the epic moment that Kenobi knew we were expecting, and that's to provide a contrast to the final fight we did get, where Ben's back in touch with the Force, where he's embraced his purpose as a protector, and this final fight is the sort of epic rematch people were hoping for. So yeah, things got explained. Obviously dangling threads were picked back up by the end, but by then it was too late. This show's status was pretty much sealed by the time the 4th episode dropped. People had made their minds up one way or the other, and many were vocal critics of Kenobi, often due largely to things which would become non-issues by the finale. The thing is, this kind of vocal criticism has consequence, because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Every viewer who goes to Twitter or a forum to prematurely blast the show for breaking canon or ruining the Vader rematch is contributing to this larger toxic fandom culture. Because of the way these algorithms work, every comment like this on a YouTube video or Reddit thread, every retweet, every like leads these viewpoints to be shown to more and more people. If you thumbs up a comment like this after the first couple episodes dropped, you're part of the reason it got shown to new viewers before less hyperbolic takes did. And this effect is scaled up 1,000-fold when it comes to reactionary content creators like Nerdrotic or Geeks and Gamers, who went semi-viral from regurgitating a lot of this same premature negativity. But guess what? Those losers only make content that they know is gonna get rage clicked on by the viewership. But the consensus on this show was shaped by such reactions to moments like these. And so by the time that Reva's backstory was made explicit, by the time we see that the Grand Inquisitor obviously survived, by the time Vader and Ben had their rematch, the damage had been done. Look, nobody's saying you can't react to a show as it comes out, or that you can't share those reactions with other viewers and discuss the project critically. This rolling judgment is fine, but not when it's absolutist. Some amount of judgment needs to be reserved. I don't think I have to explain why it's not a great idea to build a critique or an interpretation on an incomplete text. And this rolling judgment has to be paired with some basic amount of media literacy. For instance, if a character who you know to be alive at a later date is injured on screen, he probably isn't dead. If a character shares some information you wouldn't expect them to know, there's probably going to be more to that story. If the show's given you questions, it's probably also going to give you answers, just maybe not at the exact same point. Another example we haven't touched on yet lies in the last 2 episodes, where Ben seemingly teleports from his Vader showdown to Tatooine. I know a lot of people brought this up as an issue with the finale, but it isn't. Because the 2 storylines in that last episode weren't happening concurrently. They were merely edited together to improve the flow of the episode and to heighten the sense of thematic mirroring. Ben has a vision that stuff's gonna go down on Tatooine, sure, but we know as Star Wars fans that the Force can be precognitive. The problem with Kenobi's reception is that too many viewers didn't respond thoughtfully, they responded instinctively. Upon being confounded by this plot beat or that piece of new information, they didn't remain aware of the fact that there was more to come, that this flummoxing may have been intentional. Instead, they immediately tore the show apart online. To return to that thought we opened with, I think this is largely due to where Star Wars is in 2022. Many were going into this with a negative mindset, partially caused by both underwhelming projects and by meta-narratives around this agenda or that. And if you watch something expecting it to be a mess, if you're prejudiced for whatever reason, it's a lot easier to let your media literacy lapse, and to understand a character's possession of secret information as a plot hole, instead of as the development of an intentional mystery. But that's a mistake, and it's not on the show, it's on you. Disney's not your friend. They're not mine either. Frankly, I'm not concerned with the way all this misplaced criticism and poor media literacies impacted their profits or their plans. I'm concerned with the way it impacts us. At the end of the day, the way we respond to media influences our society and our discourse just as much as the media itself. That's why this stuff bothers me, and why it should bother you. That's an angle we're going to explore further in the follow-up, all about Reva, so come back for that at some point soon. Until then, though, do me a favor. When you're watching the next big series or movie, when you've got your hot take ready to post, just think for a moment. Is this complaint a well-founded one, or is it premature? Is it possible I've misunderstood something? And then hit send, but not before. Oh, and you can like this video too. I guess that's 2 favors. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons on screen now, especially Kevin Douglas. And hey, YouTube thinks you might like this video on screen now, so maybe check it out. See you soon.